Social behavior is all around us. It shapes our lives in simple ways and in important ways.
I'm Chuck Weko, and in this series we're going to introduce SOCPROG, a popular tool for analyzing social structure.
In this video, we focus on downloading SOCPROG. Later videos will show you how to load and analyze data.
SOCPROG was created by Hal Whitehead of Dalhousie University.
In 1997, he set out to help people analyze associations between identified animals. Over the past 2 decades, Professor Whitehead and his team have continually improved SOCPROG. Today, it is frequently used by top researchers to conduct their analysis.
Before downloading SOCPROG, I want to remind you that it analyzes identified animals.
What does it mean to be identified? It means that an individual is uniquely documented in the data. There are several ways that researchers identify animals. These include leg tags, radio or GPS tracking devices, or using unique markings to identify an individual.
The reason I mention this is because if your data doesn't uniquely identify individuals, then SOCPROG is really the wrong tool for you.
In order to download SOCPROG, we first Google Hal Whitehead. And we want to go to the link for Whitehead Lab. On the left, we have a link for software. This brings us to the page where we can download SOCPROG. Now, SOCPROG comes in 2 versions. You can get a compiled version that stands on its own, or you can get an uncompiled version. The uncompiled version gives you better functionality, but to run it, you need a software package called MATLAB. MATLAB is a high-performance language for technical computing. It's particularly useful for handling large matrices. And, as we're going to see, social structure is often represented as a matrix. So, if you already have a copy of MATLAB, you might consider using the uncompiled version of SOCPROG. You could purchase MATLAB, but you don't need to get started. Instead, you can just start with the compiled version.
Throughout this series of videos, we're going to focus on the compiled version of SOCPROG. If you're interested in learning more about the uncompiled version, see my other videos.
Hal Whitehead's webpage gives its own introduction to SOCPROG and lists the tasks that it can perform. At the bottom, there's a link to a manual and a link to downloads. Eventually, you will need the manual for some of the more complex analysis. You can download it now or wait till later.
When you click on Download, you're taken to a web page that lets you choose between the uncompiled and compiled version.
When you click on the link to download the compiled version, you get a compressed file. And the very first thing you need to do is extract all. I tend to use the default file path, but if you want to use a different one, here's where you would specify it. Now, you probably noticed that SOCPROG did not automatically install when we downloaded the software. Instead, just double-click on My App Installer _web. Right after you do that, the SOCPROG window pops up for a second. And then we have the first of 2 places where we get an unexpected pause in the installation process. Just be patient here. Finally, the installer opens and we click Next. Now, did you see that little bloop where a window popped up for just a split second? This is the point in the installation process where the installer checks to see if you have an internet connection. If you don't have a connection, you won't get past this point. This bit about needing an internet connection might seem strange because we just downloaded SOCPROG from the internet. But if you're installing SOCPROG from a CD or a flash drive, it can be a very confusing surprise.
From here, just click Next.
Now we choose to add a desktop icon, click Next, still click Next, and now we install. We're about to hit the second uncomfortable pause in this process. The installer gets to 41% fairly quickly, but then it stays there for a while. Just be patient and we'll suddenly jump up to the 80s. And then you can click Finish. Now we have SOCPROG on the desktop and all we have to do is double click and the master screen will open. In future videos, we'll start here and explain how each of the buttons work. But for now, we're only going to demonstrate one button, the citation button. If you use SOCPROG to perform analysis in your research, this is the proper way to cite it.
So now, you're ready to join me in this adventure as we set forth to analyze social data.